on. Woo. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and I got to say, this is an oddity here at the Roundtable because, as you know, we like to do our team recaps, but this week, all of our teams won. All three of our teams were victorious. That never happens. Never. There's always one of us with a frown on our face talking about how our team sucks and all this.
Oh, I'm still
but not this week, folks. Well, we're going to get to that, Handy. We're going to let you talk about how unhappy you still are. But we're going to let you go first. No, we're going to let you go first. Now, your Falcon, you're going first, pal. I want to hear everything you got to say because you're still upset even though your team beat the Saints, putting themselves in a position right now as we stand to contend for the division, even though you say they stink. So, Handy, what's going on in Atlanta, man? What's the story, bro? Let's go. Tell me.
Right, they do stink. The Falcons still stink. They beat the Saints. The NFC South is arguably for a good while there. The AFC South was except for that team up in Indianapolis with the guy with the really big head that looked like a giant axe wedge. They were really good, but the rest of there was one team in Tennessee that was good for a little bit. Rest in peace to Air McNair. But for a good while, the AFC South was like, whoa. And now the NFC South. The NFC South in the last, let me see. I'm just going to go back 14 years. I'm just going to go back 14 years because I met the missus 14 years ago. And we used to have this thing in our group where we would go to this one bar in Manassas, Virginia, and watch football every Sunday. All day. Like it was an all-day thing. We'd go have breakfast before the 11 o'clock game. We would not leave until after the night game was over, and the tabs would be like, it was insane the amount of food and drink you could get for cheap. I mean, we'd be there all day, and our tab would be like $40 for food and drinks. But anyway, I digress. At that point, the Falcons, the Falcons, the Bucks, the Saints, and the Panthers were all like running 10 games a season, 10 or better. Matter of fact, I think that year, 2010 or whatever, the Falcons were 13-3. They were just like killing everybody, Anyway, so in this 14 years, in this decade and a half, the Falcons have managed to go from the cream of the crop in the NFC to the bottom of the absolute barrel. That game was painful to watch. I would watch a little bit of it, and then I would just have to go put a load of clothes in the laundry and then maybe, clean out the refrigerator or something, and then I'd come back. It was just painful. It was painful to watch. Like, matter of fact, when I turned the game on, they were winning. I was out in the street getting groceries and my wife said, the Falcons are winning. I said, oh, okay, cool. The minute I walked in the door, Desmond Ridder interception. Mm-hmm. And I know you all saw my Facebook post. What made Coach think that it was a good idea to put Desmond Ridder back in the game? Like, I think the Falcons won in spite of Desmond Ridder. I'm not trying to dog Desmond Ridder. I think that Desmond Ridder was a very good quarterback. I dogged him when he was at Cincinnati, little college rivalry. I think Desmond Ridder was a good quarterback. But Desmond Ridder could not have fallen a worse fate than to wind up going to the black hole of professional football that is currently the Atlanta Falcons. They can't get out of their own way. If it wasn't for Young Hiku, we could potentially have no wins. I'm not even making that up. I'm glad they won. I'm going to shut up and say I'm glad they won, but I'm tired of watching this. And part of the reason that they won, guess what they did today? Guess what they did? They threw the ball to Jake London, and they gave the ball to Bijan. Who'd have thunk? You throw the ball to your best receiver and hand the ball off to your best running back, you might win a football game. That's all I got.
Fair enough. Because, again, obviously, still some questions about Ridder there in Atlanta. What are you going to do? You got what?
Him and
well, I mean, you may do that. I don't know. Again, it looks like they went back to him. You put Heineke in, and Heineke didn't exactly light up the scoreboard. So you went back to Ritter and you get a victory. So I'm assuming going forward, Ritter's the guy for now. So, but Atlanta will take the victory. And then, that NFC South is a toss up right now. You might as well flip a coin to see who wins that division. Tina
is more like it.
Yeah, you're hilarious. Tossing is good. I haven't heard that phrase in a while. Is everybody out there? What tossing your cookies means, right? We don't have to explain that one.
Yeah,
okay, good.
Why not?
Right, exactly. Just making sure everybody's in. Well, I mean, even if people watching,
Generation Z.
Right, exactly. So, Tina, go ahead. Like your Broncos victorious, and now here's the thing, Tina. Real quickly before I let you get into your spiel. In Russ, do we trust now, or do we not trust Russ, or what are we doing with Russ, or what do you think? You have a winning record, if I'm not mistaken. Aren't you guys 6-5 now?
Yes, we are.
If I'm not mistaken, so you're over 500 now. You're winning, but. In Russ we trust, or do we throw Russ out with the bathwater? Like the baby with the bathwater. What do you say?
Well, in my opinion, we can't throw him out with the bathwater because then we'd be throwing out our entire household budget. So we got to keep Russ. Now, what I do think is happening, and I do think the offensive playing calling is a little pedantic and not as flashy as it could be. I think that Sean is doing what he needs. He needs Russ to be a manager, have it run a lot, first and second downs, and then on third, if they need something, play action or something long to throw or an option or something, that's what they're doing. Because, there's flashes of the old Russ. When he ran that one in, he ran the touchdown in, the second touchdown we got. That thing was old Russ, just typical old Russ. And he is who he is. Now, there are a lot of Denver fans that do not like Russell because they think he does check down too much, but I can't do anything about that. So I trust Russ right now. I actually did say, let's cook earlier this week. So yeah, it's next week's game is going to be the big deciding factor. So the Texans Broncos game, which the NFL, we talked about how the NFL can move classes around and stuff. The NFL actually ended up pulling the Broncos game up to the noon game from 3:00. So it's talk to me Sunday, next Sunday, and I'll tell you how I really feel or don't feel. And I'm getting some weird looking glare, right? I don't know. It's just I'm freaking out over here a little bit, looking at myself in the thing. But I love this team. I really do. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. They're fighting. They're not getting the defense is just opportunistic. As I said, I'm trying. They're just so opportunistic. They're creating mismatches. They're getting balls that they shouldn't be getting. So the defense they're good. So we'll see what happens. Wild card. Right now the Colts are in 7th. They've got the last wild card spot right now.
Right.
But us, the Texans, Broncos, and Texans and Colts are all tied at 6-5.
Right.
And there's some pretty tough games coming up. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
If we beat Houston, there's some people in the national media that are going to have to start eating some crow. So
we're all for the national media eating a lot of things, but right, crow is definitely one of them. Delilah, yes, our beloved Bear gets a win, but there's, to me, kind of with Handy, to me, there's still so much that I just want to shake my head at, and I would like to just get Eberflus and Getsy in one room and question them like, they were my trapped prisoner and smack the crap out of them and be like, what the hell is your problem? There's just so much you can go with this game. But yes, we win 12-10. Fantastic. We're 4-8. Still in last place in the division that we're in because we finally got a division win for the first time since October of 2021. But your thoughts on this game, Delilah? What did you think? I'll give you my opinion in a moment.
Okay. First of all, I know we didn't get any touchdowns. But Justin Fields did have 217 yards, no interceptions. And I think that it's unfair that he gets dogged so much when he had over 200 yards passing. Now, there were a lot of drop balls. People saw that. There was a lot of stops, fumbles, not, you know what I mean? Like, and we couldn't get to the end zone, not even rushing. As a team, we had like 100 yards rushing as a team between 3 players because Foreman was out. And it proves just how important he is to our rushing, and I hope that we keep him. But and then what gets caused are the screen plays. Like,
no, we're the
defense. They had
go ahead.
They intercepted Dobbs 4 times. So it wasn't for lack of our defense keeping us in the game. All we got out of 4 interceptions were field goals. Thank you, Cairo Santos, for giving us all our points that game.
He was our leading scorer always, like always.
He
right?
is our leading
That's y'all's
scorer.
version of Young and Cool.
Exactly. Cairo Santos show. Fantastic.
Even if everybody's like, oh, he missed that first kick. Yeah, that's it. He made all the rest. He's consistent.
Yeah, he is, though. He's only missed 2 field goals all year. So,
the last 5 seasons he's been with us, consistently making his field goals and his PAT. Okay? Like, he's doing his job. And it's just frustrating to see Fields put over 200 yards and we cannot get a touchdown. It's just like, come on. And everybody's like, oh, you need a new quarterback. I said, do we need new coaches who know how to actually coach a quarterback and play to their strengths, right? And hide their weaknesses. That's what good coaches do. They go, let's do this. And then, okay, we'll work on your passing. We know he can rush. Why are we not putting him? Like, he was breaking all sorts of records when we let him go, right? Then all of a sudden, they came in and started playing all this, like, weird stuff with him. And I don't appreciate it. And I think it's important for him to get one more season with coaches who have experience, like actually quality people who know how to develop guys before we just throw him away. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't draft a quarterback just to have him in the background. It's dumb not to, especially since we're going to get all these picks from Carolina because doesn't mean I agree with you, Nick, when you commented on the comment on the Facebook page that I don't think we should draft someone in the first round, that because there are other needs. But I'm not saying we shouldn't draft a quarterback. Right. But I am saying that before we throw away Fields with the bathwater, as you were saying, let's actually get him some decent coaches to actually play to his strengths and really see what he can do. And then we do trade him, then he'll be of value because people will realize, hey, he can play. It's just the coaches sucked, Yeah. So like, you know what I mean? So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Great. We have 4 wins now.
Yeah, we're forward. But my biggest thing, and what I want to figure out, because help me with this one, anybody, why in a crucial series on defense is Montez Sweat not on every play, and why is Jalen Johnson not out there on every play? You're 2 of your best defensive guys, and they're on the sidelines during one of the most important defensive drives of that entire game. And you're like, wait a minute. Did we not? And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we just give this guy a 4-year extension for all this money? Mm-hmm. And in the most crucial drive of the game, he's on the sideline for most of the. What the hell are you doing? Like, I tried to give Eberflus early on the benefit of the doubt. And as the weeks go on, I'm just like, I'm so on Delilah's side with just going, would you get rid of this bum already? Like, please? Like, somebody do something, because I'm watching this, because I watched highlights and I read some of the articles. I tried to catch up because I didn't see the game live, and I'm like, you have to be kidding me that your 2 best defensive guys were not on the play for every field of that last drive. That, to me, that's coaching. That's horrible. That absolutely cannot happen. He should be gone. There's a lot of reasons why, but to me, that's one of those where that just takes the cake. That's just bad coaching. Like, that proves to me that maybe you don't know what the hell you're doing, and you need to go, Matt Eberflus. And you can take Luke Getsy with you.
Yes,
and as the old saying goes, F you and the horse you rode in on, because you can just get out of town quick and I don't even care. Because I'm done with all that nonsense. Right. I'm done with all that nonsense now, pal. It's just done.
I didn't realize this, but Luke Getsy actually interviewed for the head coaching job at the same time Hackett did in Denver.
You dodged a bullet, Tina. You should be grateful.
I know.
Oh, that guy's horrible. Terrible. Well, anyways, but there you go, folks. At least all of our teams got wins this week. We can be happy about that. Some of our, obviously, our teams still have a few issues we have to work through, right? Tina's probably, right now, Tina's in the best position, probably out of the three of our teams. Again, we'll see what they do against the Texans this weekend. I'll talk about that later in Nick's picks. You'll see that later. But let's move on. We got coaching changes. We got firings. It's fantastic. Everybody's getting fired now. It's good towards the end of the season. You're starting to see except for Anthony Handy, because
looking at you, Arthur Smith.
Oh, we know who you were talking about, sir. We know who you're talking about. But we're gonna bring on one of our buddies. You know him well. He's an old timer or whatever. You know, he's been around. But Sean is going to join us now. Sean Spencer, ladies and gentlemen. Sean, come on in. There he is. What's up, Shawnee? Sean, how are you? How was your Turkey Day this past weekend? How was it?
I mean, it was good. It was good, minus about 4 hours. But, you know, other than that, we ate early. You know, everything else was good. It was a great day. It was a great day.
Well, of course, we brought you on because, as we all know, you are a Washington Commanders fan. And you guys decided, I mean, outside of trading half of your defensive line a couple of weeks back, you have also now fired your defensive coordinator, Mr. Jack Del Rio, and have fired your defensive backs coach, Brent Wieselmeyer, or Wieselmeyer, however you pronounce that. What are your thoughts on this, man? What is your opinion of all this? I mean, all these moves and what the Commanders are doing. Is all of this moving towards the end of Ron Rivera in Washington? What do you think, man? You're the expert here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the writing's been on the wall ever since, you know, Dan Snyder was ousted out of Washington and the Josh Harris group came in. I mean, we knew what was happening. And I think a lot of Washington fans thought it was going to be an immediate change. But no, and I love what the Harris group did. They wanted to see what they had. And we've seen Ron Rivera struggled. Jack Del Rio, listen, it's about time for him. I mean, if we look back, there was a stat that said at the 4 seasons that he's been here, in the first 4 games, our defense has averaged giving up something like 28 points a game. And then from games like 5 to 17, it would go under 20 points, but it's still double digits. So, I mean, I was one that, you know, used the phrase bend but don't break all the time. But this year, just the bottom fell out. And a lot of people say, oh, well, you're not getting the pass rush now because of Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Look, they really weren't doing much when they were in the game, for us at least. So for me, this is still part of the course. I mean, we knew when Chase and Montez got traded away that people, you know, everybody needs to, you know, get their resume ready. Make sure you got good film and tape on yourself and all that good stuff. We're not looking great on the field. Yeah, so I'm glad with that one. And then with the other guy, the DB's coach, this guy was like a high school coach. Like, you know, once Chris Harris, we lost him this offseason. He went to the Titans. Our DB's coach, they kind of elevated this guy. This guy's like a no name. And for me, when I heard this, I was like, oh, Ron. I was like, oh, okay, Jack Del Rio got fired. And I was like, who's the other guy? Who? Okay, all right. Oh, man. It's like one of those things where you're like, hey, nice to meet you. Okay, goodbye. I mean, it's like I feel like it's the first time I'm getting anything. Any type of
right.
him, but, you know.
Okay.
Hey, at the end of the day, we're at the same spot. I mean, all of us except for Tina and her Broncos. Yeah. But the rest of us were in the same spot, you know, so we're kind of jostling for draft pick position and all this type of stuff. Yeah. So, you know, for sure. I mean, we know what's coming.
Yeah, no, and again, it's sad to see because you and I obviously talk a lot about this, and I've always made fun of your Commanders just because you were high on Sam Howell, and we would joke about that and go back and forth. But the fact that our teams are both basically in the same boat now, it's just not funny anymore because it's just not fun to watch. So it's hard to make fun of you when my team is just as bad, if not worse. So I'm going to give you a break on that one, pal. I can't say anything, but the Steelers also made a move, guys. Matt Canada was fired about a week and a half, 2 weeks back as the offensive coordinator, and then all of a sudden, the Steelers get 400 yards of offense for the first time in like forever. So, what do we think of that one? Here's my question with this. Depending on who they really bring in, like I'm sure they have, I don't know who the offensive coordinator is calling plays now, but you've still got a young quarterback in Kenny Pickett. You still got a young receiver in Kenny Pickens, and you still have a fairly young Najee Harris. You have elements there that can make Pittsburgh a good offense, but they never seem to score more than 17 points in a damn game. So does this bode well for Pittsburgh going forward, getting rid of Matt Canada? Anybody feel free to chime in with that one and let me know what you think.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
you go ahead.
No, I think it's interesting that happened because remember, like, one of our coin toss topics a while back was Kenny Pickett's comment that he quickly deleted, and we're like, oh, I don't know. They made, Fields apologize for his comments. And I guess it turns out that these quarterbacks are having legitimate gripes and then have to apologize because you're not supposed to put that out there, right? You're not supposed to put that out there. But
sorry.
Right. But it sounds like they really are having legitimate problems, right? And so when they're saying something, sometimes we're quick to judge really quickly, but they're the ones in that locker room, right? They're the ones dealing with these coaches every single day and having to listen to whatever it is they're having to deal with. So by this happening, maybe Pickett was right. When he made his comment, he had to delete. You know what I mean? And so we'll see if they can continue, improving and, because as we know, Tomlin is not a losing coach. He's never been, right? This is like the first time that he really saw himself in that position. And so, if the team continues to win games, right? And they pick up speed and we see their offense pick up. Sometimes the coaches who just can't lead and need to go, right? And so we'll see how they finish out the season. I wish we could hear from Sydney. I'm sure he'd have a better insight because that's his team. He'd have more more knowledge on the thing. But like I said, I think obviously Pickett's comment earlier in the season was actually warranted.
Definitely. Go ahead, Tina.
But I think we also need to think about it. They had almost 400 yards of offense and only scored 16 points.
16 points, right? Exactly.
That's I 100% agree. Canada was not working out for him. He was not working. But I don't know. And they're also in the playoff hunt.
Mm-hmm.
They're what? So they're 7-4.
7-4.
Browns are right behind them at 7-4. And I looked at their schedule. Mm-hmm. They have to play the Colts, Seahawks, and the Ravens are their big games.
Yeah, they're big games
coming up. So
scored 16 points isn't going to cut it. So
I'm not saying this because I want to piss people off.
Wait, you don't?
Is it all?
Why are we here?
Or is it kind of maybe the QB isn't who they think he is?
Well, that's something that I definitely think we need to dive into. But I mean, we keep throwing out the number 16 points. Let's be honest. This defense is a team where all you need to do offensively is score 16 points and they'll get it done.
Like that's why they're winning.
They were playing the Bengals. So 16 points is going to win that game with the Bengals.
They did that to the Ravens as well. They've done that to Buffalo, who I know is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but they've done that throughout the year. Let's be honest. They've had troubles on their offense all year long, and somehow they've still won 7 games. I looked at this team for the season and I thought this is a 2-3 win team just because I, like you, Tina, do not trust Kenny Pickett. They don't really have a line. George Pickens, we know, I mean, he came from being unstoppable at Georgia, and now they're struggling winning games, and he was very vocal saying, free me. You know what I mean? So honestly, I think that defense is definitely hiding a lot of issues. Matt Canada was a serious problem, absolutely. But I do think we need to look at Kenny Pickett as well and be like, I mean, like Delilah said, he's chirping at the mouth, but having over 400 yards and only 16 points, something ain't working.
Yeah. Right.
But also, they also played the Ravens earlier in the season. The Ravens are on a juggernaut now. So will 16 points be enough? Now, I agree. The AFC North, they're in AFC North, right? Okay, is a black and blue. You're going to have low-scoring games in that division. But still, is 16 going to beat the Chiefs? Is it going to beat Jacksonville? Is it good if you make it to the Super Bowl? Is it going to beat the Eagles?
Right.
That's why. That's where it gets a little
right.
Your offense has got.
I agree. No, for sure.
They've earned their seed 100%. Yeah. Are they going to be able to keep that seed is the question I have.
That's a different story.
Through the rest, 100%. Through the next 5 weeks.
Right. And they don't have the extra week like the NFC because, it flipped to the NFC this season, right? Because it goes back and forth now. So they don't even have that extra time like they did last season. That's why we were all excited over seeing all these teams, right? The Steelers were, they were all after that final spot, and it was fun to watch, and it went down to the wire, but they don't have that extra
that last week. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and also, so that Canada gone there, like I said, we'll have to see what the Steelers do the rest of the way. Of course, let's move on to our Carolina Panthers, who have they really cleaned house. They're 1-10 so far this year. They went ahead and fired their head coach Frank Reich, who thank you for that, Alec. We hope your holidays were good as well. We've all had pretty good ones from what I can tell. Alec Jober, thank you. But Frank Reich is gone now. Head coach from Carolina, 1-10 this year. Deuce Staley, their associate head coach and the running backs coach, gone as well. And everybody's favorite backup quarterback, Josh McCown, is out as the quarterback coach there in Carolina. But here's what I found very interesting, and this is what I want to get into. And Andy, I'm going to go to you first with this, my friend. David Tepper bought the team in 2018. Okay, became the owner. Since that time, he has fired 3 head coaches. He fired Ron Rivera after week 13 of 2019. He fires Matt Rule last year after week 5, and has now fired Frank Reich after week 11 here in 2023. Do we have a Jerry Jones type situation where the owner is causing the football team to kind of like he's putting himself above what the team might need or what the team is doing? Because I got to be honest, for me, this is kind of a red flag. You've only been the owner 5 years, and you're going to go on your 4th head coach now. Handy, what do we think about this? Is David Tepper part of the problem here in Carolina? Because let's be honest about one thing. You got you got your rookie quarterback. Sorry, real quick. Rookie quarterback. You don't have an offensive line. You don't have a number 1 receiver because you gave to the Bears for those picks. And you don't really have that great of a defense. So what's going on here, Handy? What's in Carolina? Do we start to look at ownership and go, David Tepper, what the hell are you doing?
Well, first of all, that's what them folks in Carolina get for putting mustard in their barbecue sauce, but that's a whole different story.
Wow, watch your mouth. I'm a Carolina boy. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Okay, that's the right way to do it, bro. Yeah, watch yourself.
That would be something like me as a Yankee would say.
Okay. Anyway, about 15, 20 years ago, there was a commercial where Jerry Jones came out of the booth and snatched the headphones off. The coach was like, "Give me this, you're fired." I think it was a commercial, something like that. This is a prime example of this. Sean, you and I talk about this. You and I both talk about this individually, separately on the college football shows. Part of the problem with firing coaches is if you get a guy in and he's only been there for a short time and you don't give him any time whatsoever to make any adjustments, to build the staff they want, to build the program they want, who's going to want to come coach there? Mm-hmm. Like, let's be real. He's not going to get let's say Sean Payton wasn't coaching right now, but this year he's going, man, I'm thinking about really coaching. He's not going to want to coach at Carolina. People are saying Belichick is thinking about leaving. The rumors are starting to fly that maybe he wants to get out of Foxborough. He's not going to come and coach it. You're not going to get a quality coach that's going to come and coach for you. You're going to get the fly-by-night guys. You're going to get the guys that have the losing records other places. You're going to get like the one you said, Sean, where you're going, I'm sorry, who are you? That's who you're going to get to come and coach for you. And you're going to, nobody's going to want to come and play for you. I honestly, if he keeps going this route, we're going to start seeing those guys that come in, get drafted, play one game, and then they sitting out the rest of the season with mysterious ailments because they don't even want to be in that on that squad. So 100%. What you said, Frank Reich, 11 games. That's it. This is first season there, right?
Yeah.
Yep. 11 games. 1-10, but 11 games.
His first season, 11 games in. As decimated as that team is, the owner can't. Instead of going to him and saying, "What can I do to help you?"
Right.
It's your first season. You got an alibi.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to help you build this squad? Because we want to build like Josh, your boy Josh said, we want to build a culture of winning here. Mm-hmm. He just said, you know what? Give me your key card. Yeah, definitely 100%. There's not now with the reputation. Just in the 5 years he's on that team, I guarantee you, aside from guys that are just trying to get head coach on their resume, no coach worth their salt is going to want to come and coach there, except maybe Urban Meyer to get a couple more dollars.
Yeah,
the price tag where he is.
Right. Well,
I
that's
can
the
see
thing.
Josh
The price
McDaniels
tag,
trying to make a chance for that.
I could see somebody coming in because of the price tag, but I do agree it's going to be like a fly by night. Because Washington, for all intents and purposes, is somewhat similar in a similar situation, or like right past that. When Snyder was here, nobody wanted to come coach here. Nobody wanted to be a part of it because they know Snyder was going to micromanage things. But that's another thing that's going on now with Josh Harris coming here, where it's kind of like, all right, do you get rid of Ron Rivera right now, or do you let him play out? But like you said, Anthony, other teams and other coaches are looking at them and being like, all right, how do you handle this? Because if you're just going to throw them away right away, well, then what chance do I have? You know what I'm saying? Especially seeing that roster. So yeah, this isn't a good look in Carolina. And since last year, they had Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. They traded away at the trade deadline. The guy formerly known as Robbie Anderson. Now he's chosen something. I don't know.
Robbie chosen, right?
Yeah. C-Mac is in what's it called?
San Francisco.
DJ Moore is with you guys. They literally have stripped this thing down to bare bones, and then you're asking somebody to come win with one player. Like, it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair to the coach.
Yeah, with a rookie quarterback to boot, it's not like it's an established quarterback that's won one game out of 11. This kid's trying to learn the game and the speed and all that, and you just said, okay, well, never mind. We're 1-10, so we got to get rid of the coach and everybody. Again, it'd be one thing you got rid of the head coach, but you also obviously thought there was a problem with the running backs coach, even though you don't have a running back, and you have a problem with the quarterbacks coach. You have a problem with the quarterbacks coach because you fired him too, but he's got a rookie quarterback that he's trying to. So I don't know if David Tepper has some idea in his head of that this is the right thing to do, but to me it looks like he screwed Carolina for at least the next year, at least 2 to 3 years, because again, now you're going to start over with a new head coach. Now you're going to have a second-year quarterback with a new head coach. Gee, this sounds a lot like Chicago in some ways. I wonder what's going on here. Anyways, but
so we gave our coach 2 seasons. That's enough.
I don't. No, we don't. Believe me, Delilah. We want him gone. We want him gone.
To be completely honest, the only person that could have any hope of pulling that thing together in Carolina is Richard Dean Anderson, MacGyver. That's it.
He's a Richard Dean Anderson.
Some gum and a lighter and some tape.
The thing that we're seeing though with these teams that don't have the right coaching staff is now you have these quarterbacks that are coming up in these drafts, and they're very vocal about not wanting to come to these teams.
Yeah.
Because
they are.
Caleb Williams said, "I stay in California."
No, like what is the point of going to a team after seeing what they're doing to their young quarterbacks now?
It's true. It's
and
very
they're not
true.
going to help you. They're not going to help you. I do not blame them for going, I don't know. I'd rather stay back a year.
Or you could have another situation, the Eli Manning / John Elway situation, where they just say, "Look, don't draft me, but if you do, I'm going to sit out for the next."
That's what Bo Jackson did.
Bo Jackson did it. Elway did it. Eli Manning got the trade he wanted.
It's to a bigger issue. It's to a bigger issue because Nick, you were talking about how they had Matt Rule a year ago, and he only got a year or 2 years or something like that. I mean, there's this new thing, and Anthony, you know about this in college. Just same with the pros. Everybody wants the next great thing, the next genius, the next offensive guru or whatever. And you get these guys, but you expect them to just this is what you got, just make do with it. And it's not fair to these guys. You know what I mean? But
the only player I can think of right now that kind of got plugged into a situation and it's starting to turn around. But I mean, that's also, it's not just him, it's also front office decisions and things like that. Is Sunshine down in Carolina.
Yeah.
Not Carolina, Jacksonville.
Trevor Lawrence, Sunshine.
Call him Sunshine. He's Sunshine.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people do, right?
Sunshine. Well, that's the only reason they fired their coach was because of the toxic environment. So that was a different situation, and they made the right call in that case. That was different. So
no, but again, it's just the NFL. I think this year, among all others, and there's always stuff in the NFL, but man, when you look at the parity. And you just look at what has gone on this year. I mean, with the refs, with the coaching changes and all this stuff, it's just been a crazy year in the NFL. And I think it's just one of those years where, like, I can honestly say, I think for me that I'm not going to predict anything for the rest of the year because I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. And I have no idea how this is going to go. And I just think it's one of those seasons that just everything is just so up in the air. And you just, every week is something different. There's some different story. There's some different this or that. So, I look forward to the rest of the season, but, man, I have no idea what is going to happen in the next 6 weeks left in the season that we have. But, listen, Sean, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you anytime you can come on, my friend. We are going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with the rest of the show, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned. Don't leave us. Come on back right after this break, okay? Thank you.
Okay, kicking game. I'm talking about the ugly. And you know what's ugly? I'll tell you what's ugly. It's calls for Vance Joseph to be fired. John Payne put together a solid game plan 2 weeks in a row. This is a big. But overall, I can't complain too much. We just need to be the Bills. This defense performed at an exceptional level against Oregon.
This was our third win in a row. Very happy. I'm just concerned about
All right. Well, of course, that was an ad for the Mile High Minute, which is something Tina's doing with her fellow Bronco cohorts there. Where's the bar where you guys watch the game, Tina? Here in Chicago, where do you watch the games at?
It's called Almost Home. It's up by Wrigley Field. In Wrigleyville.
Yeah, great Clarksville,
Yeah, so those that are kind of like want to follow the playoffs and stuff, we're doing it kind of right after the game. We're getting together, we're discussing the good, the bad, the ugly of the game, and we're going to keep on doing that through the rest of the season. So those will pop up. Come and watch the show. I have a lot of fun doing it. We're working the kinks out right now.
Well, of course. It just started, right? So But we will look forward to that because, again, it's always – and actually sometimes that's the best time to talk about something because it's still fresh in your mind. You just saw everything. Like, it's probably a good time to actually do some, something like that. So we look forward to that. Look forward to seeing that in the future.